ain't no time for no off-stepping. You used to started repping. When I started busting my gun, it was in the art lesson. Straight from nursery to the school of gangsters. Years ago when mama sent me out to play with the bangers. Started breaking down fools like mangas. Throwing up my 6 hard to add beef with Answer. Every day was madness. Creeping through the night like a phantom. Had sawn off shotties when we couldn't get handguns. Kanja baby, so I'm definitely my dad's son. Don't kick ball, but my villa is Aston. Let me take a breath and go again. With a brand new strap, I'ma open up his head. Ain't no touching in the leg right here. It's brown bread, only God, no man I fear. With that said, I'ma ride and go anywhere. Live life without any care. Skinny, but I got nickies like nuts and rugged there. In this life you live, you're in or you're out. No off step in the team, rude boy, you're down. I'm about to start some shit. Too many fools talking garbage. Nah, this ain't for the weak-hearted.
So what you have just seen is a true reflection of how young people think in our community. Young people are being murdered and going to jail for life sentences at an incredibly high rate. It has become unsafe to allow our kids to go and play on the streets. My name is Simeon and this is Dylan Duffus, and we will use everything in our power to change that, but we need your support.
Around this time last year, I experienced one of the worst things that could happen as a parent. I got a phone call saying that my 12-year-old son had been stabbed outside his school. I didn't know how severe it was until I got to the hospital, but fortunately he survived. But the harsh reality is many young men and women are losing their lives on our streets. This has become more of a culture in our communities.
It is a part of our youth culture and is being popularized through social media, music, films, and video games. Young people are being exposed to the negative imagery and lifestyles with no alternative, and these lifestyles are being glamorized. Murderers and their victims are getting younger. The kids are being desensitized to extreme violence to a point where seriously hurting someone or killing them is considered cool. At one stage, I was a big part of the problem, and I was one of the driving forces fueling this culture in Birmingham. I represented my area code violently. Shootouts were a daily occurrence. We used to call it tit for tat, or even like a game of tennis, because one day or a few hours, we'll be down this man's area, we'll be down his area, and we see someone, we'll shoot after them, jump out the car, beat them down, and then a few hours later, they'd be doing the same thing. So we used to call it, it was like a game of tennis. I was a well-known local rap artist. I kind of still am, kind of. But I was a well-known local rap artist, and I used to basically make music about what I've done on the streets and all the people that I've hurt. I used to make music about it. That gained me a large following, and then I kind of became a role model. But I didn't care. I didn't care whether I was a role model, who was following me, or anything else. I only cared about the gang and what we was banging for. It wasn't always like this. Definitely not. There was a major culture shift. In the late 80s, early 90s, there was a big culture shift. We went from being men and women to gangsters and hoes, brothers and sisters to niggas and bitches. Like, our whole culture changed. If you would go to our house back in the day, our parents' house, you'd probably see a picture of Marcus Garvey on the wall, Malcolm X. It was very cultural. We went from listening to Bob Marley and reggae to NWA and F the Police and all the rest of it, you know what I'm trying to say? When I was about 12, 13, I watched a film called Menace to Society, and when I watched that film, I wanted to be like, just like this character called O-Dog. He had plaits, he was one of them, a typical American type gangster, and I wanted to be like one of them. I started growing plaits, and although I didn't become like that for a while, like I was on the way. That's what I was aspiring to. By the time I was 19, I was fully in old dog mode, robbing people. I was robbing drug dealers, shooting after people. Like we was doing all sorts. And we used to do that all day, every single day. We didn't do nothing else. We used to eat, breathe, and sleep the streets and basically gangbanging. So I became a role model, and the music that I was putting out on YouTube and the internet would gain over 500,000 views. And this is in the early YouTube days. No one wasn't really doing that then. And we basically enticed a generation of young people to come to live the same way that we was living.
I grew up on the rival side to Simeon, and I also remember the shift. Like you said, we went from listening to Bob Marley to NWA, niggas with the attitude. And this was what you can call the beginning of the street culture, which is killing kids across the country today. I work in television and film, and in 2011, I got involved in a Channel 4 documentary called 1 Mile Away, which was screened in 2013. It followed myself and a guy from Simeon's side of town, Shabba, trying to bring about a truce to our community, to a gang feud that had been going on for over 20 years. Like Simeon said, it was a tit for tat. Life was more like a video game, but the only thing in this game, once you're out, there's no coming back.
Gone for good.
You're gone for good. Many of the young men in our area, like you said, was programmed to hate each other. They thought it was cool to shoot at each other. They thought because they came from this part of town, we had to be enemies. Basically, we was acting like dogs. There was no brotherhood no more. We was enemies.
There was there was a bit of a brotherhood, but the brotherhood was all wrong.
Yeah.
It was a brotherhood, but we was killing each other. We was fighting against the people that were most like us in the city.
And one of the worst problems was many innocent people getting caught in the crossfire, men, women, and child. In 2003, we had a murder on New Year's Day, which most of the nation heard about. And like I said, it's horrible stuff what was happening. But alongside the documentary, we started a campaign, and we started a social enterprise to stop the violence. And like I said, making the film was extremely difficult. Our lives were threatened, people were pulling guns on us, my mom's house windows got smashed out, but the end result had an amazing effect on our community. For 15 years prior to the documentary, there'd been a gun crime reported every single month, every week, basically.
Every week.
And we was told by a high-ranking officer that once the documentary was released, for 18 months there was no gun crime in the whole of Birmingham.
Not one firearms incident reported.
And in the most violent areas which we came from, Handsworth, it dropped by 30%, and in Aston it dropped by 50%. And many of the young men that were involved in gangs began to look for work and change their life. This showed us the power in the arts, the power of the arts and the influence of the media. I once read a book that says the arts manifest the spirit of the age, and I've seen this firsthand. So much so that as the documentary campaign slowed down and began to fizzle out, the culture re-emerged with a vengeance. We were still doing great work on the ground, mentoring and working with the kids and doing what we could do in the streets, but we didn't have the same impact as having the film and the media spotlight on us. The situation right now has got to a point of crisis, I would say, with people getting murdered over nothing, over silly arguments. The latest crime figures show that there's been an 18% rise in violent crime. I seen it last night, it's gone up to 29, and including the 20% surge in knife and gun crime. Osman Sharif, a 16-year-old, died in Tottenham Green, London. Police were called to a fight between a group of young people with knives. Osman had been stabbed in the chest with a kitchen knife. He died later that evening. Elijah Donnelly, aged 17, had spent his Sunday at a rally that was fighting against gun crime. That evening, after the march, he was stabbed in his chest and died a few hours later. These are just two of the many deaths that have happened in our community.
And this is going on all around the country. In every city, we've got little urban kids thinking it's cool to carry knives and kill each other. Knowing all this, we are developing a YouTube channel that will produce content to challenge the negative imagery many young people watch online. Stories that will help reshape a culture of violence and chaos. We will use the same music artists and street celebrities that are already in the public eye to challenge these negative mindsets and give an alternative message. We will use the same genres of music, rap, and grime, but we will give that a positive message as well. The negative imagery is hitting the kids from every single angle. So we've got to make the counter to it even more accessible. This initiative is being supported by Penny Wilcock, who directed the 1 Mile Away documentary, One Day film.
Many of the stuff, countless of operas and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, so she's done a lot of directing. She's probably one of our most active advocates, and she's an executive producer of our content. We're also being supported by Doc Society, who were formerly known as BritDoc, and they've kindly offered to help manage the project until we get it off the ground, and they're also managing a Kickstarter fund once we launch in November. We're also being supported by James Purnell. He's a big supporter as well. From the start, he's been supporting us, so thanks, guys. But yeah, he was a former cabinet member. Now he's one of the directors at the BBC. All these kind, lovely people are supporting this cause because they know how serious an issue it is. We've already started to see the impact this could have, and we haven't launched the channel yet, but what we've been doing is we've been out in the community, we've been collecting content, and us collecting content has allow us to get out there and engage with young people positively, get them speaking on certain issues. And one thing with the 1 Mile Away documentary, why it was so effective, why it had such a big impact is because it had the whole city speaking. It had the whole city trying to address this issue. It was coming from everywhere. And even though a lot of people didn't agree with a peace or truce, and even at one stage I didn't agree with it, to be fair, but many of the men that was involved in this didn't agree with it, but we still saw an 18-month period where there was no firearms incidents reported. There was no warfare going on.
After 15 years. After
15 years. So even though people didn't agree with it, for some reason,
the conversation changed.
It stopped, and that was due to the conversation that was being had. So this is what we're trying to do to try and get that conversation going, to try and build the same energy that the documentary built. We're going to show you a short clip of just some of the work we've been doing in the community, just to show you how we've been engaging with some of the young people. How do you think, like the trap music and the gangster rap shit, all that shit, how do you think it affects urban culture? How do you think it affects the way you live your life? How do you think it affects you?
Do you think it affects you?
Do you think it affects you?
It's not positive, yeah, but like when you listen to it, it puts you in like a bad mood, and it makes you want to like do bad stuff. But it's alright.
Do you not think trap music and and all that gangster rap shit, do you not think it affects how you like live your life?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Big influence on people, especially kids that listen to especially kids that listen to the music. Big influence.
It's not a good influence like they're selling people, you know, like that then.
So some men are selling a lifestyle that they're not actually living themselves.
Yeah, people are selling the youth of nowadays, fake dreams.
What you got to look at is focus on yourself, innit? You don't need to do things for other people.
Say that again.
Focus on yourself.
I like the way you're
Basically.
thinking, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
The success and the impact of the documentary and film we have been involved in making has shown us the true strength of the arts and showed us the most powerful tool for creating positive social change is the arts. We have a vast access to young people in urban communities across the country due to the work that we've done. We have gained a large cult following, and it has made us respected and influential amongst young urban audience. This is an issue that we have already had success with in the past. We know about gun crime, we know about knife crime, we grew up in that. We understand to tackle the issue, this has to be sustained. The YouTube channel will allow us to build the same energy the 1 Mile Away documentary did, and support the process in lowering the violent crime rate in our streets. It will also allow us to sustain a media presence and keep the discussion going on in the community. It will give young people a platform to express themselves without feeling intimidated or they have to fit into the gangster lifestyle and image.
I feel like this is my personal responsibility to do this work, because I played a major role in glamorizing the lifestyle and making the youths, who are probably not even youths now, but allowing them to follow in my footsteps. But this needs to be done by us all. I was always taught that if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So it's not enough to just sit and spectate from the sidelines just because it doesn't affect you or your children directly. We need to make this lifestyle look as stupid and as uncool as it really is. But for that, we need your support. The young kids are getting this negative imagery from every single angle. I've probably said it before, but it's coming from everywhere. They're getting it from the music that they're listening to. They get it from the films that they watch, whatever they're watching on YouTube. Then when they come out into the community, they're getting it there because this is the cool thing to be. When they go to school, it's happening in the schools because in school, if you're not one of the bad boys, you're not cool. So they're getting this imagery everywhere, and it's telling them this is what you need to be. So we need to make the counter for it even more accessible. They need to be getting the counter for it from everywhere. They need to be getting hit from left, right, and center. So when I say we need the support of everyone, it could be just as simple as subscribing to the YouTube channel. The videos that we put up, share them because it's a positive message that's getting shared. So if everyone's sharing them, the kids are more likely to see it. Let's make this lifestyle look uncool because we do have the power to do that. Let's make this gangster lifestyle look dumb so the kids will look at it and think, that's some idiot thing, that's stupid, I'm not getting involved. Let's do that. So thank you for listening, people. Please could you support us?
Hold on.
Go on, quick. He's got something to say.
We got to leave due to childcare issues. So we'd love to network and stay around and speak to. But please get our contact from Jude if you need us and you'd like to find out information about what we're doing.
Thank you, Jude, for having us.
Thank you
for listening.
Thank you. Peace and love.